Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to take a look at the first teaser trailer for The Tomorrow War, which stars Chris Pratt and J.K. Simmons. Now, before we get into this, I'm not 100% sure what the source material is for this, whether it's a novel series or something like that, or if it's a comic book. If anybody knows more about the series, you can put it in the comments below and educate me, I guess. But I'm just going based on what I've seen in the trailer and based on what I've seen in some promotional material. So the trailer itself is not that long. It's only about 30 seconds, so there's not all that, well, maybe a little over that, but there's not that much material to actually dissect. It's more the question of kind of the functionality and how the world works that I want to explore. But let's actually dive into the trailer a little bit, because a lot of what we see in the trailer, there's a couple scenes that kind of explain the plot a little bit, but most of what we see is Chris Pratt and a group of commandos going through these various like bombed out and destroyed buildings, and what looks like some sort of major U.S. city or major world city, a first world city, something like that. It looks kind of like an office building almost, and basically, as we're seeing that, we're also getting a voiceover, and we get one scene actually where there's basically all these time travelers that show up in this portal, which looks like it might be like in the middle of a sports field or something. And they just emerge from this portal, and they basically announce to people that there is a war 30 years in the future with some non-human entity, I assume aliens, and they need people from the past to come to the future in order to help them fight the war so that the world doesn't end. So here's there's more than a few issues I have with that in terms of how the world works from a functional standpoint. At least unless it's thoroughly explained. Now I don't need it to be any form of realistic time travel, I guess, nothing physics related, but if you just explain like, oh well, this is how time travel works in this universe, because there's a whole like slew of things that you could probably do to negate this situation if you have the ability to time travel. You could come back and you could inform humanity of the weaknesses of the aliens, so that they can be ready to murder them when they when they show up. You could warn them of the fact of it, which they clearly state that the war is 30 years in the future. So you have 30 years to prepare for these aliens. Do you know how much death dealing humanity could think up in a 30-year time span? Like, just let the morbid creative minds just go to work on that, and you will have something horrifying by the end, but extremely effective. Um, I feel like 30 years is plenty of time to prepare for an alien invasion. I mean, if you can do half of what Jeff Goldblum did in Independence Day Resurgence, then you're probably going to be okay against most alien threats. But it seems a little absurd to me, but regardless, it all depends on how time travel works. It could be that, them taking people from this timeline and bringing them to the other timeline is creating some kind of an alternate universe. That if the humanity of the past wins the war, or if the humanity of the future wins the war, it doesn't necessarily mean that the humanity of the past will survive. I feel like there's going to be some kind of a twist to this, that it's not just as we're taking it at face value, because if we're taking it at face value, it's literally people from the future coming and saying, we're doing a future draft. Who wants to come do the future war so you don't all die in 30 years? Um, and again, I think that's kind of a weak premise to go by, because there's a lot of different holes that can get poked in it. Just from the aspect of it. Like, the other thing is too, if you bring all these people into the future, what happens to their prospective offspring? Are they independently selected? Like, oh, well, you didn't contribute to the fighting force in the future, so we can take you, or we can take you because you're going to get hit by a car tomorrow or something, or we can take you. Is it one of those things where they're like, your future's shit anyway, so why don't you come with us and fight in a war? It could be something weird like that. I don't exactly know. Now, the other thing is, this is, as far as the trailer goes, we really don't see J.K. Simmons at all, unless there's a very small glimpse of him here and there. But it's mostly Chris Pratt on screen. It's mostly him going through those kind of bombed out buildings. The only kind of stuff that we see that's really kind of futuristic-y, I guess, is we have that one scene of the time portal and the future warriors who are all dressed up in their future armor. You kind of know what I mean by that. And then the other thing is that all the people that they bring from the past into the future, they all have these armbands on. And these armbands are like, they look kind of like maybe like a multi-tool or something from Mass Effect, something like that, where it's like a communicator and a scanner, maybe, something like that. So that is kind of interesting to see. But the other thing is they're all carrying what I guess would be considered today as modern weapons. They're not like carrying laser rifles or anything. I mean, it's 30 years in the future. I feel like we would have moved on to laser rifles by then, to some respect, especially for fighting aliens. But I don't know how effective bullets are going to be. Now, we don't actually ever see the aliens in the teaser, which I'm happy about. I don't think you should necessarily reveal that right away. I think you should build up to that. Maybe the next trailer, then you can see that, or a little bit of it anyway. Maybe you get a bit more J.K. Simmons and some stuff like that. I would really like a little bit of exposition on how the time travel thing works. Maybe that's just me, but it kind of irks me a little bit that I don't exactly know the mechanics of it. Um, but like I said, I don't hate the premise. I like the premise. Again, as long as it's explained to an extent, and it's not just kind of left there. But I mean, it also depends on what kind of movie it is too. This advertising makes it seem like this kind of tense, tense like action drama type of thing. Whereas instead, the director is mainly known for comedies. I mean, he directed the Lego Batman movie. He's directing the second Lego Batman movie as well. He was involved in the Lego movie. He's also was a director on Robot Chicken for a number of episodes. And now he's also supposed to be doing a Nightwing film and a Johnny Quest movie, which should be interesting. But I mean, there's a lot of comedy background there, and the Tomorrow War, at least from the teaser, does not appear to have very much comedy in it. Again, as you do have Chris Pratt in the film as well, so maybe that's just kind of a smoke and mirrors thing for the advertising. We might know more when we see a full trailer. Maybe there'll be a bit more of a jokey vibe in there at some point, but it seems like it's fairly serious for what it's taking itself as. So I don't mind that. I think that's a good thing for something like this if you're going to go for that aspect. But if you're going to be serious, then take the mechanics of the plot and everything seriously and give a little bit of more explanation to the audience. I'm sure there will be more in the film, but again, that's just something that I'm very curious about. But outside of that, there's not really too much else to mention with this film. Like I said, we only have this small teaser and a few screenshots and stuff like that. This will be going to Amazon Prime Video as of July 2nd of this year, and it's going exclusively there. So if you want to watch it, you'll have to go there, or you'll have to wait for about 24 hours before the pirating sites get a hold of it. And then I'm curious. I'm interested to see where this goes. 'Cause I do like Chris Pratt, even though he does have a little bit of a one note thing where he's the snarky guy. But again, I do like Chris Pratt in a lot of movies. I think he can pull off a serious role. And I'm interested to see what the actual plot of the movie is. 'Cause I do like semi-realistic science fiction. I think it's kind of interesting to sort of mesh that little bit, that near future science fiction, the stuff that we can kind of imagine and sort of see happening in the next 30 years versus, like Star Trek stuff, which is like way the fuck off. I do like that kind of an aspect of it, and I don't think we get too much of that these days, so it is nice to see, but that's just me. I'm going to link the trailer in the description below for anybody that wants to watch it, and tell me what you think. Are you excited for this? Are you not excited for this? Are you a fan of Chris Pratt? Are you a fan of J.K. Simmons? Are you a fan of the genre in general? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?